the Orange Tree Theatre as part of the Richmond Fringe Festival in 1974. The cast included Oriole Smith, who, together with her husband Sam Walters, was associated with the Orange Tree for many years. It was the first play Q2 Players presented at St Luke's when we moved there in 1988. The upstairs hall hadn't been completed, so the play was performed in the downstairs hall. Imagine that. So I'm now going to introduce tonight's cast. Cast, please wave when I announce your name. Julia, Kat Lamin. Tammy, Dominic Parford. Anna, Denise Tomlinson.
Hi.
Rona, Wendy Grossman. Harry, Craig Cameron Fisher.
Hello.
Jennifer, Liz Smith.
Hello.
And stage manager music, Felicity Morgan. That's me. The action of the play takes place at Tammy and Julia's home and the homes of their relatives. It's set in the early 1970s. Now, if you'd now like to switch to speaker view, which will show you who's speaking and when. If you're not sure where speaker view is, it should be at the top right of your computer screen. You can toggle between speaker view and gallery view, which shows you everybody at once. So, as the curtain rises, Tammy and Julia enter arguing. Tammy is in his early 30s. He's a primary school teacher, but rather more bearded and hip than is the norm. Julia, his wife, is in her late 20s and sensibly and practically dressed by Marks and Spencer. Distributed round the stage, getting on with their own lives, are their relatives. Julia's grandmother, Anna, sits in a wheelchair in a garden and plucks her eyebrows. She is a charming and attractive lady, most gracious. Julia's mother, Rona, a raddled and lively lady, sits with her feet on a desk, smoking a cigar, drinking whiskey, and reading an obscure book. There's a filing cabinet at her side and a pot plant where she can stub out her cigar or throw away her drink in moments of remorse. Tammy's mother, Jennifer, a comfortable and apparently placid housewife, sits in chintzy coziness and knits a grandbaby's garment. Tammy's father, Harry, a retired doctor, a man of passion and sensibility lurking somewhere beneath layers of conventional common sense, potters with his window boxes.
You don't seem to consider how much extra work it means for me.
I would have thought less work. She can help with the washing up.
I hate strangers in the house.
If she's there for long enough, she won't be a stranger.
I don't seem to count at all. I'm just your wife. I don't have to be asked, it seems, or considered. I'm the person who does all the work, that's all, and heaven help me if I complain. Why are you laughing?
You sound funny sometimes, like a parody of yourself.
I don't think it's funny. I do have feelings, Tammy.
I know. You seem to have a great many feelings these days, Julia.
I'm human. Is that wrong? You think I'm crowding you, but I'm just the same as I always was.
Don't tell me what I think, Julia.
I know everything you think. We've been married for 8 years.
We are still separate, and let me remind you that marriage isn't prison, though you seem determined it should be.
That's not fair. Any wife would complain if the husband took in a female lodger without so much as mentioning it.
I came straight home to mention it. Female lodger? She's not exactly an 18-year-old sex bomb, is she? No such luck.
You always did like older women. Don't pretend.
Dear God.
You and my mother?
Not that madness again, Julia, please.
I'm sorry. You just no business offering our spare room to Miss Bull, and you know it. It isn't really spare anyway. It's supposed to be the children's playroom, only you won't move your stuff out. You will for her, I suppose. And I've been waiting for 3 years just to be able to shut the door on old prints and cricket gear and rubbish.
We can't afford a spare room anymore. The way things are going, not that and the rates and shoes for the children.
Children, I'm sorry if I keep asking for money. Ask or have them crippled for life.
The alternative to my meanness, as you see it, is for you to go out to work.
My children need me at home.
Then we have to take a lodger. Try not to be so hysterical.
And how much have you asked her to pay? I hope enough to make it worth my while. I bet it's not.
We didn't get around to mentioning money.
How very odd. Were you both too drunk then?
At end-of-term parties at a primary school, the drink is seldom stronger than orangeade. The teachers are sometimes seen to reel, it's true, but no more from exhaustion than from alcohol. I hope you haven't anything against Daphne Ball personally. You'd even say, in an off moment, that you liked her.
I'm sure she's perfectly pleasant as a person and a very good teacher in her middle-aged way. And I'm very sorry she's been turned out of her flat, and I know fares are impossible, and I'm not mean or selfish at all. But a lodger? No one I know takes in lodgers. I don't come from lodger stock.
No, but you married a teacher. You were warned about downward social mobility by your mother.
I didn't think you'd stay a teacher forever. I suppose I have no option but to accept her with a good grace. It's a pity she's so fat. She should go to the doctor. I'll suggest it. It looks glandular to me.
She's the proper shape for a woman, that's all. You're becoming very difficult to live with, Julia. I'm hag-ridden. I go to staff meetings, I stay late at school, and I feel your reproaches and your resentment creeping under the staff room door like a fog. It's dreadful.
You see too much of other people's children and not enough of your own, that's all. You're never here.
Of course I'm not. Do you ever listen to yourself whining? You don't know what it's like. The kids all day and you all night. It's not just the money, if you want to know. And I thought Miss Bull might lighten the atmosphere. In the presence of a third party, you might just possibly make some effort to behave.
Behave? What do I usually do?
God knows what you usually do. Certainly not the housework, certainly not the cooking. You throw any old thing on the table these days. You don't earn, you don't work. You're always tired. The place is in a mess.
Tammy, we have 3 children.
I look after a class of 30, Julia. And at the end of the day, the classroom is as tidy as it was at the beginning.
You've changed since I married you.
So have you.
What do you mean by that?
Never mind.
Where are you going?
To get drunk. Since you accuse me of it, I might as well.
But the children are away, and we're supposed to be having an evening together, just you and me.
But Tammy has gone. Disconsolately, Julia follows. Rona rises and flicks through her filing cabinet. Don't sing love songs, you wake my mother. She's sleeping here, right by my side, and in her right hand a silver dagger. She says that I can't be your bride. Julia returns in a moment to wake her grandmother from her sleep.
Well, why do you come to me for advice? I'm your grandmother. Why not go to your mother?
You know what she's like. I'd have to ring for an appointment, and then she'd only offer me a cigar.
Oh, your poor dear mother. All the same, she is a professor of logic. And what am I? I'm an old lady with no brain and fading charms. What advice could I possibly offer you, child? Except to book your place now at the Rest a While Guest House for Old Folk. The waiting list is very long. The state looks after one very well, I'm obliged to admit. Although when your mother made me come here, saying it was against her socialist principles to pay for a private place, I did have my qualms. The rest a while is a show old people's home, as it happens, although I don't think your mother was aware of that. And the food is eatable at least once or twice a week when VIPs are expected. And since they are careful to only let in a good class of resident, we can all be relied upon not to dribble or chomp our teeth in front of visiting heads of state and put ourselves and our pets down with sleeping pills the day incontinence is confirmed. So it's all very pleasant and we're no trouble to anyone.
Gran, please, can we talk about me?
Always thinking about yourself, Julia. It was the same when you were a baby. Your mother left you with me at a very difficult time in my life. And there you've been, mewling and puking, stopping me doing the things I wanted to do.
It was a difficult time in Mother's life too. And she didn't leave me. She just couldn't manage on her own. She was a one-parent family.
The names they call things these days.
I don't want to be a one-parent family like her grandmother. I don't. I want to stay married, and Tammy's being so dreadful, and we row all the time, and I don't know why, but I can't seem to do anything right anymore, and I'm frightened everything's just going to fall to bits.
Did you get married, Julia?
Of course I got married. You know perfectly well I got married.
My memory is very bad. I'm an old lady, nearing 90.
You're only 82.
86.
82. I've been married for 8 years. Your room is lined with photographs of Tammy and me and the 3 children.
Oh, so that's who they are. Well, fancy. How very nice, dear. My little Julia married. And such a pretty little thing, always wanting everything perfect.
Please, Gran, stop playing games.
The trouble is, bad news gives me indigestion, and it's bread and butter pudding day. Could you come back on apple snow day, where everything slips down a little easier?
Gran, I've got no one else to talk to. I don't even seem to have any friends anymore. Tammy didn't like them, so I eased them off. It wasn't very nice of me. I don't think I'm as nice as I thought. And as for our new friends, well, I can't talk to them. I don't want to seem disloyal to Tammy. I love him. He doesn't seem to love me anymore. Sometimes I think he hates me.
Well, perhaps you're hateful.
He makes me hateful. He presses a button and there I am, hateful. No wonder he keeps away.
Keeps away? Oh, yes. Well, you shouldn't let mistresses upset you. Ignore them, child.
Mistresses? Oh, no. Nothing like that. Just school journeys and extra work he takes on after school, and all with Miss Bull, come to think of it.
Higamus, hogamus, woman monogamous. Hogamus, higamus, man is polygamous.
But she's fat and middle-aged and...
Cherchez la femme, child. But don't cherchez too hard. Keep your mouth shut. It's in man's nature. And try not to mind and certainly not to notice. Smile, say nothing, curl your hair, warm his slippers, look after your looks, go on a diet. Think, have you let yourself go? Be nice to come home to, and he will. He'll forget her and come home to you. They always do.
But Gran...
In the meantime, he's bound to be unpleasant to you. You'll just have to put up with it. How else can he justify his infidelity other than by casting you in the role of monster? I only receive visitors for half an hour at a time. Otherwise I get tired. Oh, look, there's dear Mr. Watson coming across the lawn. You'll have to leave us alone, Julia. I think the poor dear is going to propose. I shall say no, of course, because he only wants someone to wash his socks now his sister has died. But he thinks he loves me. They're such funny creatures, so transparent. I can't think why you take yours so seriously. Goodbye, Julia, my dear. Give my love to your mother. I know how clever and busy she is, but I'm very alone and helpless here.
Julia is obliged to leave her, unsatisfied. My daddy is a handsome devil. He's got a chain 5 miles long, and on every link a heart does dangle of another maid he's loved and wrong. Tammy enters and crosses the stage on the way to see his father. Passes Julia on the way.
Where are you going?
To see my father.
I don't believe you.
What do you believe in?
You're going out so you can ring Miss Bull.
Why should I ring Daphne? She's upstairs in the spare room marking books.
To talk to her secretly so I don't know. How do you know she's marking books? She might be making tea on the electric ring you so kindly wired up for her. You've never mended my dressing table light. It's been out of action for 19 months and 4 days.
I think you need treatment, Julia.
Where are you going?
I've told you to see my father.
You can't leave me in this state.
I can.
You must, for mercy's sake, give me some reassurance. Put your arms around me. Tell me you love me.
I don't feel like it.
He leaves Julia and goes over to his father, who seems pleased and animated to see his son. Julia goes off. All men are false, says my mother. They'll tell you wicked, loving lies. The very next morning they'll court another, leave you alone to pine and sigh.
What? Advice? I stopped giving people advice years ago when I realized they didn't just ignore it, they actually took it. The responsibility is too great.
But father, as a GP, you must have spent your days giving people advice.
Pills, my dear boy. Medicine, not advice. I remember one fellow that came to me back in 1943. His wife has had a nasty miscarriage, and after that she didn't fancy sex, wouldn't let him touch her. I said, be patient, just be patient. In 1963, he came back and said, Doctor, I have been patient, and it hasn't worked. What shall I do now? 20 years.
Perhaps he didn't want sex either. You were just the excuse.
No, that's modern thinking, twisting and turning to deny the facts of tragedy. Everyone does what they want in the end. Stuff and nonsense.
You're rather dismal today, father.
Well, you're my only son. You come to me and say your marriage is in trouble. Should I be cheerful?
I'm bewildered, that's all. I don't know what's got into her. We row all the time. I think she's gone mad. She suffocates me.
Bet all right.
Yes, I can't think why. We hate each other.
Yeah, it'll blow over then. Indifference is the worst danger.
Part of me doesn't want it to blow over. That's the trouble. I want it to build up and then explode.
Why?
I don't know. Yes, I do. I want my freedom. I can't go on forever between those 4 walls, doing the same job, seeing the same faces, same meals, the same mackerel on Tuesday, same effort to make the most of things, the same gritting of the teeth, the forced smile, the acceptance, dear God, the acceptance. I will not accept anymore. I will blow everything apart. I will. I want my freedom, father.
You mean other women? That's what my patients usually mean when they speak in abstract.
I expect you're right. I expect that's what it boils down to. Plod along life's highway, picking one's nose and eating it. Ugh.
You don't have to split a marriage on account of sex, you stupid child. Copulate with all and sundry by all means. It is well within the boundaries currently of the superior man's vision of himself. How else do you think I have contained my marriage to your mother?
I'd rather not think about it.
Well, perhaps you should.
Not the lady patients, I hope.
Whenever I could, my boy. Opportunity is all. Sex outside marriage is without meaning, but a necessary safety valve to its continuation.
I find this rather upsetting.
You always did prefer illusion to reality. A child of high principle. A little prig, in fact. Rebuking your mother for the burnt scrambled eggs, and me for the occasional swear word when the phone rang in the middle of the soup. Oh, greenfly's dreadful this year. Did you know how they reproduce? A ceaseless chain of babies crawl out from under its tail while it goes about its business, and 5 minutes later they're fully grown and all at it, until someone like me comes along with a bucket of soapy water and puts an end to it all. Nature is quite appalling, and however hard one tries to subdue it with reason, principle, and moral standards, it asserts itself in the end. One might as well save one's breath to cool one's porridge. Take a mistress, my boy, and don't be too secretive about it. And Julia will toe the line pretty quickly. She'll have to. But don't divorce. You'll only pick someone just the same if you do. I've seen 1 or 2 second marriages that work, and I'll admit that. But leaving such a trail of desolation behind, disturbed children and suicidal exes, this would make one believe that personal happiness could only be built on the ashes of other people's aspirations.
You're advising me to have an affair? How extraordinary.
I don't give advice, I told you. Vitamin B helps. Some of my patients swear by it.
Father.
Oh, don't call me that. Goodbye, son. I'll give your love to your mother.
Harry leaves. There'll be weeping and wailing and rocking of cradles and rocking a baby that's none of your own. Hey-ho, baby, baby, lie easy. Your true daddy will never be known. Tammy moves to take his place at the dining table. Julia enters and serves the food she has, it seems, kept waiting for him. They're both trying hard. She smiles sweetly. So does he.
How nice. I do like mackerel.
Yes, I know it's your favourite. I went all the way on the bus to get it.
You don't like mackerel much, do you?
No, it's rather oily for my taste.
A very difficult fish to spoil for that reason.
How do you mean, spoil?
Well, dry up, overcook. You know what happens to fish. But this is beautiful, firm and tender and just right.
Well, thank you. Usually I have to be angry to cook really well, and I don't feel angry at all today.
Why are you eating the fish if you don't like it?
But to keep you company, Tammy.
Don't bother on my account. It's too good a mackerel to waste. Plump and juicy. Did you make sure the eyes were bright? That's how you tell good fresh fish, you know, by the brightness of the eyes.
Yes, I do know that, as it happens.
Don't take offence, Julia. It's only so many women simply don't know what they're buying. The art of marketing is quite dying out. I can't think why you don't like mackerel. Such a waste.
It's a little too rich for me. Well, for God's sake, I can't be expected to like everything you do.
It's getting so I can't open my mouth without you starting.
You started it, you did.
Started what?
comparing me to her.
Dear God, she's mad. I'm married to a mad woman.
Lovely and plump and bright-eyed and juicy. Where is she?
Who?
Miss Bull.
I haven't the faintest idea. Should I? She's not young. She's the same age as you. In the pub, I expect.
Where you'd like to be instead of here, with her.
The way things are going, yes, it might be more congenial.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. It's just you were so late back and I get tense waiting and I kept supper and I did try not to complain, even though you haven't seen the children for 3 days, let alone spoken to them.
Complain? But what is there for you to complain about? There was a staff meeting after school. There always is on Tuesdays.
And then you walk her home.
Well, of course. She lives in the same house as we do. It would look very odd if I didn't. Wouldn't it?
You don't even kiss me when you come home anymore.
At this rate, is it surprising? If I come in with her, that's wrong. If I come in without her, that's worse.
Yes, it is. You had some kind of emotional scene with her on the way home, I can tell. And she's had to go to the pub till her eyes look better.
Shall we ring your mother?
No, why?
I'm very worried about you. I think you're mad. She might be able to talk some sense into you. She knows what you're like. She told me so before I married you. She said that beneath your rather meagre bosom beat the heart of a suburban housewife, possessive, sexually inadequate, and for that reason, jealous to the point of insanity. I'll ring her, shall I?
Julia flies at him, spitting and scratching. He holds her off at arm's length, disdainfully.
Why are you so frightened of your mother? Because she sees you for what you are? I suppose I must make allowances. You are at your worst, of course, at this time of your monthly cycle. Poor, plain, fat Miss Bull. What is there about her to have provoked all this?
He drops her arm and prepares to leave.
Where are you going?
To the pub.
But your mackerel.
I've lost my appetite, Julia.
Tammy goes to seek Rona's advice.
Perhaps he's right. Perhaps I'm mad.
Julia goes off. Rona offers Tammy a cigar.
I am the last person to advise anyone on their marital affairs. Extramarital, perhaps. Why not ask your own mother?
She inhabits a different universe.
Yes, she wears pull-ons. I remember at your wedding, plain as anything through the turquoise crimpline.
Rona, you wore knee boots, riding breeches, a purple cloak over a see-through blouse, and a Spanish hat.
I thought I looked rather splendid, didn't I?
You were 45, that's all.
Was that my fault? You never complained about my mode of dress in the past, Tammy, when you studied logic under my guidance. It was all up the underground and down the bourgeois, i.e. on with see-throughs and off with roll-ons. Flesh untrammeled and overflowing. Good times we had on that carpet underneath my very desk, didn't we? Why you ever married my daughter, who was born with a slice of turquoise crimpline in her mouth, I can't imagine.
One doesn't choose as a wife someone who... Anyway, Rona, please don't criticize my mother.
You're very fond of your mother, of course. A lot of students like you, fancying me like crazy, rattled old hag that I am. All I ever wanted was a father, and all I ever got was sons.
You're drunk.
Yes, pissed out of my mind. Men seem to like it. It puts me at a disadvantage. Just a little push, and there one is, flat on one's back.
Rona, you are 54. Have some dignity.
I'm not interested in dignity. I'm interested in sex. I can't tell you what to do with Julia. She's foreign to my nature. I should never have had her. I knew it at the time. And I wouldn't have, but for my interfering old bag of a mother standing 4 square between me and the abortionist. Ask your father what to do. He's a GP. He should know.
I have. He told me to have an affair.
Oh, yes. You men stick together. Did you enjoy it?
It didn't get that far, Rona, as it happens. I'd become very fond of our lodger, Daphne. It all became rather emotional. I'd even declared true love. We were almost, I seem to remember, running off. Then we had a scene in a pub after a staff meeting. Daphne slapped my face. I had a row with Julia. And in the morning, Daphne had left her comb on the wash basin, filled with a matted kind of fuzz. Her hair is falling out. She worries about it. She's spending almost as much at the trichologist as she is on board and lodging with us. She can't be as hard up as she alleges. And it merely disgusted me, instead of rousing my romantic imagination, as it would have done the day before. It seemed I had what I wanted, which wasn't sex. It was rejection.
Fancy. Perhaps I hooked you on it.
Perhaps you did.
I don't suppose you get much of it from Julia. I told you she was too good to be true. Beware of meek, sweet, accepting women, I said. Their God is a chocolate blamage, and their truth is a vagina lined with razor blades.
Your daughter is no longer meek and sweet. She is manipulating, hysterical, and as violent as you.
Violent?
Look.
Yes. A nasty scar. Teeth or nails?
Teeth.
Safer than nails, less prone to sepsis. Perhaps Julia's more like me than I thought.
Perhaps I keep turning her into you. I press the right button, and there you are.
Bully for you, then. I shouldn't worry about the scar. Most married men have scarred shins on inspection.
You're an unhappy woman, Rona.
No, I live as a man, that's all. It comes more and more easily to me, especially now I'm past the menopause.
You are full of hate. You hate men. You hate your daughter. What chance has she had? What chance did you ever give her?
Oh, Mr. Husband back again. Hello. I gave her life to get on with in her own way. Where is she now? She never comes to visit me. Only her grandmother when she wants something.
Gone to see my mother to tell tales and upset her. I expect. The little bitch.
Where are you going? Stay and have a drink. Tammy, I'll try and behave. It gets lonely sometimes.
No, I don't like you anymore. I've seen you in Julia's eyes, and I've had my fill of it, and I don't like it. I don't want it.
Tammy goes off. Rona pours herself a drink. Julia comes to Jennifer. Jennifer pats the cushion beside her, and Julia sits down.
There, dear, what's the matter? I can't have my daughter-in-law crying. Harry, Julia's here. Bring a cup of tea, there's a dear.
I'm so unhappy.
But why? 3 lovely children and a nice house and a loving husband.
He doesn't love me anymore.
Yes, Harry said something. But I'm sure he does, or he wouldn't be with you. He'd be somewhere else.
He stays for the children's sake.
What's love anyway? Be thankful for what you've got.
He's having an affair with our lodger.
Then throw her out.
How? How can I?
Then you don't want to. You'd rather prove your point.
What's that?
That he's a wicked, heartless fellow who's doing you wrong. Oh, isn't this wool a lovely colour? The dyes these days are excellent, though pure wool is very hard to find. It's a funny man-made stuff which hurts your fingers. You'd rather be right than happy, my dear, like most people. I remember Tammy when he was 3, hitting another little boy on the head, over and over, shrieking, "Be my friend, be my friend." Still at it, I expect. People don't change, you know.
I can't even take a lover to show him out. There isn't anyone about. I don't fancy anyone anymore. I'm all dried up and horrid inside. Who'd be interested in me?
Plenty, I dare say, if you were available, but of course you're not, being too bound up in your husband.
Bound up in him? I hate him.
Then why complain that he doesn't love you? Where's the justice in it? Dear, dear, what a tangle.
If he loved me, I'd love him.
Perhaps you should take a job, dear. Get out of the house a bit. Show your independence. Nothing like a show of independence to bring a man to heel. Nothing like earning your own money instead of having to ask for it. Nothing like change. Change frightens husbands. Men are creatures of habit. Marriage is a pattern of habits. Get up after him for a change instead of before. Take a bath in the mornings, not the evenings. Sing to yourself in the mirror. When he accuses you of being a slut, agree with him. Yes, you say, I am a slut. Hooray! Show him the mould at the bottom of the tooth mug. Don't hide it. Say, yes, the steak cost 123 pence because I couldn't be bothered with a stew. Don't lie and say it cost 90 pence, and anyway, it was all they had. Where is your spirit? Truth is all. You cannot hope to be wife, mother, mistress, nurse, cook, laundress, hostess, gardener, seamstress, all these things to perfection. Stop crying. Rejoice in his criticisms. Get in with them first. Say, yes, I am a jealous, unreasonable, inefficient, extravagant, frigid slut. But you married me. Your fault, not mine, if fault there be. Stop trying to be nice. Admit to being nasty, Julia, like the rest of us.
But you're nice. You're always nice. You and Harry never have rows.
Dear child, one gives others the advice one should have taken oneself and never did. And if Harry and I never row, it's only because something lies between us, which is so flat, stale and unprofitable, that we prefer to leave the other alone, so as not to consider it.
Harry comes in with a tray.
Dear Harry, how good you are. Oh, you've forgotten the lemon. Oh, do fetch it.
Harry goes out with the tray. Julia returns to her own home.
Julia, I can't seem to find my green jersey anywhere.
No, I put it in the dustbin.
You what?
It's 9 years old and it's smelt of tobacco since before you gave up smoking. And you won't have it washed, and you keep it in my drawer, so I have thrown it away. And the dust cart has crunched and munched it up, thank God.
But I had it before we were married.
Exactly. And now I'm going out.
But you never go out.
I am now.
Where to?
The pictures.
Who with?
By myself.
I don't believe you.
Believe what you want.
Leaving me alone with Daphne? You can't.
I can.
You can't go out like that. Mutton dressed as lamb?
That's just my modesty. Mutton's almost unattainable these days. Fetches a higher price than lamb. Times change, you know. Have a good evening, I'm sure I will.
Rona stubs out her cigar, throws away the rest of her drink in disgust, and goes to sit beside her mother, Anna.
Mother,
Hello, Shirley, my dear.
my name is Rona.
Is it? I thought I'd called you Shirley. No, I remember. Your father wanted Shirley, but I insisted on Rona.
Please don't get my name wrong. It upsets me.
Excuse me, you're blowing cigar smoke into my eyes. Your father used to smoke cigars. I never minded that. A man smoking is so masculine and attractive. When a woman smokes, it's grubby. Forgive me, I'm old-fashioned. Your dear father, how I miss him.
Don't be ridiculous. Father put you through hell. Why do you deny it? You brought me up on lies, and poor little Julia, too. On romance and white weddings and happy ever after. I could see with my own eyes it wasn't true.
Well, perhaps you should have brought up Julia yourself instead of handing over to me.
How could I? I wasn't fit. A child needs something like normality, but that doesn't occur to one till after they're born. She was too good to be true. Oops. Now she's married that randy young fool. I couldn't stop her, or him, but I would like her to be happy. My father didn't die. He ran off with the girl in the stationer's shop. Why do you always say he died? After he'd had every other shop assistant in town, while you pretended not to notice. Of course he left. What else could he do? He never got any sane reaction out of you, only sickly simpers. Someone in the family had to take an interest in the truth, and that was me. It's not a comfortable position, believe me. Look at me. It hurts me, and it hurts everyone. I speak the truth, and I'm seen as the monster.
You are. Yes, you are. A monster. Thank God you never married. What kind of a wife would you have made a man? An unnatural woman and an unnatural daughter. Abandoning me in a county council home for the old. Too mean to pay a penny for me. Visiting me hardly ever. Upsetting me like this when you do. I want my life to be nice.
It is about the best old people's home in the world, even if it is free and you know it. There's no pleasing you.
No, there's not.
Why not?
Because before I had you, your father and I were happy. It was you who spoiled things.
And that's why I have to pay?
Yes.
You never loved me.
No. That's the truth. Do you like it?
No.
Did you love Julia? No. And you're proud of it.
I wanted to. I couldn't. How could I, with you for a mother?
I had my second chance with Julia. Thank God for it. I was fond of Julia. I didn't like her marrying that man either. She could have done better for herself. I'd be quite happy for that marriage to break up. She could find herself another husband, someone smarter and richer, more fun, to liven up this dreadful place a little, make one laugh.
I hope you haven't tried to influence her, Mother.
No. Well, perhaps a little. Though at the time it sounded right. It never worked for me. It might for her.
You are the monster, not me. Yes, you are.
You see yourself in me, my dear. You don't like men. Why should I? What reason do we have to like them? In the end, you and I. Perhaps Julia will do better. Part of me hopes so. I would rather you didn't visit me anymore, Shirley. It would be a relief if you didn't, if I could wish you right out of existence.
I brought you some grapes. There. I will leave them. And a pot plant. Don't overwater it. Not that it's likely.
Thank you.
It seems a pity after so long.
You wanted truth, and that's the truth. I didn't hate your father. I loved him. And I still do, dry bones that he is. And I cannot forgive you for being born. Goodbye, Shirley.
Rona resumes her place at her desk. Harry looks up from his pot plants. Jennifer turns another row.
I was able to say a word or two to Tammy.
I spoke to Julia too.
It would be a pity if that marriage broke up.
I'm sure it won't. She's a good girl, and they're both so fond of the children. What did you say to Tammy?
Take a mistress, get it out of his system. What do you say? Aren't you shocked?
No.
Well, come to think of it, why should you be? It's your philosophy, isn't it?
I don't understand what you mean, my dear.
You remember old days.
We promised not to speak of it, Harry.
That was more than 30 years ago, and promises wear out.
It's so long ago I've forgotten.
Liar. You dream of him still, don't you?
No, I dream of you. Sometimes you walk through my dreams like a pillar of salt, cold and sad, in the shape of something that once lived and moved, killing whatever it touches.
I didn't leave you. Most men would have. I stuck by you.
You were frightened of what the world would say. No credit there.
I brought up Tammy as if he were my own.
He is. You only have to look at him.
I don't believe you. It is etched on my memory, and when I look at him, I see that pattern. An open door, a bed, you there with my friend. Everything lost at once. Love, trust, friendship. You, pregnant, swelling beneath my eyes with another man's child.
It was your child. Preferred not to believe anything so simple or nice. You had to cling to your wrong like a sulky child. Life was too good and too rich for you to accept. It was a silly hot afternoon, that was all. I told you so, 35 years ago. You agreed to forget it.
I never did.
No, you preferred your revenge.
It only ever was revenge. It was never what I wanted. All those silly women, that waste of shame. But you started it.
Did I? Are you sure? As one gets older, time begins to overlap. You should have let me have more children. We made ourselves poor.
Yes. Yes, I should have. That was not nice of me. I feel nicer now it's too late.
I have always done what you wanted, to make things up to you. No more children, you said. No more, I said, in guilt. But I would have liked a daughter. Something to run deeper and stronger and continue me more closely. You should not have told Tammy to take a mistress all the same. It was mischievous and silly, the kind of sex cliché frightened men take refuge in. And I can't think why you did, unless from some resentment of him. I hope Tammy has the sense to ignore you.
So do I. And what did you tell Julia, Jen?
I preached what I have never myself achieved, clarity of identity and independence. I never really wanted it myself. There was something too luxurious and too enervating, I dare say, in the way we lived, you and I, in the best of our times. Do you remember before, Tammy? Me here in the house, seldom out of it, rising from my bed, warm and satisfied, seeing to the daily matters in an absent way, back to bed again, my centre, and the warm dark and the undercurrents of my being, so much more real than the cold bright self of the day. I don't forget it. It has sapped my strength, I know, but I prefer the weakness. There is a lot to be said for the old days, and fidelity, and the woman with bed as her centre, and not a thought in her poor silly head except how to get through the days and back into the pleasure of the nights with as little effort as possible.
You didn't tell Julia that.
Oh, no, no. One keeps such knowledge to oneself. Let her learn for herself if she can. She has my son. Isn't that enough?
Rona puts down her book and looks up.
I shan't visit Mother again. She's quite dreadful. My visits stir her up too much. Besides, it's a long way, and the doctor says I must look after myself. There's no one else to do it for me. My blood pressure's high. I have all the symptoms of executive stress. I may live like a man, but I don't have to die like one.
She looks at the drink and pours it away in disgust, stubs out her cigar.
I'm glad Rona isn't coming again. We have such different points of view. And the truth of the matter is, I didn't make her like she is. She was born like that. And what with Julia and her brood visiting all the time, this place is quite enough like Blackpool as it is.
Anna goes off. Tammy is marking books. He seems peaceful.
Cup of coffee?
Thanks.
It's real. There's a new coffee shop.
How nice.
It's quiet, isn't it? Children in bed, television finished, just you and me.
Yes.
I didn't really mind her, you know. I never really thought you were having an affair with her. I was using her as a dozen different pegs to hang a dozen different angers on.
I know. All the same, it's nice now she's gone. We have the house to ourselves.
How precious these times are. Good times. Rich times.
If we're rich, my name's Micawber. I have a pile of bills here which, put in the balance, would outweigh my income 3 times.
I could go out to work part-time. It would do me good. I wouldn't get so obsessive.
We'll see. We'll try and manage without. You don't really want to, I know. It would be dreadful if you turned into your mother.
Would it?
Oh, yes.
What I meant by richness was not money, but you and I like this, not quarrelling. The children well, no one's dying, no one's unhappiness our fault. Warm and safe, building up, not tearing down. A roof over our head, for God's sake. No bombs falling, no plagues, no pestilence. No shots in the street, no knocks at the door in the night. Rich times. Good times, Tammy, don't you think so?
Oh, yes. Yes, quite so. While they last.
And the curtains close.